Hello. I am preparing for a class tomorrow about essential oils for emotional strength. And I found the content too good not to share with all of you. So I decided I would do a practice run through the material and record it for you. So you can see the connections between our thought life and our emotions and how that impacts our physical health, and then also how oils can play a big role in reversing negative emotional patterns or thought patterns and releasing that so you can live a more full life and thrive in the person that you're created to be. So I will just introduce myself in case you find this video interesting or helpful for someone that is currently not in the oilistic life, and if they find it useful, and you can share it with them and help them get their oils to equip them for emotional strength. Okay, and so my name is Sarah French, and I have been using Young Living for 3.5 years, almost 4 years, and I was very drawn to the oils for their physical functional benefits for myself and my family. I was very interested in knowing what to use to support our wellness and our body systems that were just maybe not functioning normally or correctly or under the weather or whatnot. And so I was just really super interested in using the oils to keep us healthy. And my background is in health science, so I have a natural inclination towards health and the way the body works and how nature complements that and all those things. So once I learned that there was a therapeutic grade and a therapeutic use of aromatherapy, then I was super intrigued, and even beyond that, really impressed with the quality and the purity and the actions of Young Living essential oils. So everything in this video that when I talk about oils, I am talking specifically about Young Living essential oils. You will not get the same effects using a lesser quality or a different brand. So that is my disclaimer there, and everything in this video is for educational purposes only, and all that good stuff. So I was not drawn, it was hard for me to understand how oils could affect our emotions. Or maybe it just wasn't hard for me to understand. I just really didn't care. And so I've come a long way from that. And I think just being a mom of 3, and then they are ages 8, 9, and 11, I'm really seeing how our thought life and our emotions impact like everything. And so seeing kind of some stuff played out in my kids really tuned me into, oh my gosh, we need major emotional support here, right? And for mommy not to like come down to their level of like caving into those tantrums, or motherhood just will really try your patience. And I found myself in need of more emotional support. And so even though I came to Young Living for the physical functional properties, I now rely on them for emotional strength and well-being. So I think some people at first think it's weird, or they don't want to get in tune with those feelings, or how can, like, it just smells good, I get it, but, is it really going to be effective to, help? And they are because they have the ability to affect your emotional part of your brain called the limbic system. So before we get into all of that, I want to talk about the cycle and how those negative emotional patterns get set up in the body in the first place. We are not designed to be fearful or worry or doubt, or we're not designed to let that dictate our life, and a lot of us do. So some of this first information I will take from Carolyn Leaf right here, Switch on Your Brain. It's fantastic book. She says that our thoughts are real physical things that occupy mental real estate. So they're real. They have a vibration and a frequency. We know that all living things have a frequency and a vibration to them from our science lessons. And so thoughts are real, and so they can impact you physically. And so moment by moment, every day, you are changing the structure of your brain and body through your thinking. And so it's an endless cycle that gets set up. We take in every day information, which, are we on information overload these days or what? So we're taking in a lot more than what we used to. So we take in information and facts and experiences and events of our life and assign meaning with our thinking, which produces then behaviors and emotions and decisions. Okay, sometimes we make really rash decisions because we are in an anger state, or that's just an example I can think of real quick. So we have everything coming in, we assign meaning with our thinking, and this produces behaviors, emotions, decisions, actions, and changes our physical landscape, which in turn stimulates more thinking and more behaviors and more actions, and then our physical landscape changes again in our brain, and then that comes back in for more thinking, stimulates more thinking, and so we just have this cycle that goes on, and good or bad, it happens. So our ability to think and then to make choices has ramifications all the way down to the ways in which our genes in our DNA, the genes of our bodies, express themselves. So when we talk about health and wellness, we have to talk about our emotional states of being, since it really all starts in the realm of the mind. We are designed for peak happiness and thinking and health. You are wired for love and enthusiasm and optimism and things like that. How many of you wake up like crazy enthusiastic to face the day? Or why not? It's just not a norm, I don't think, that you see often. And emotional patterns are set up as fear-based survival responses. So fear is a learned response, and that's usually accompanied by pain that we have felt from life experience or past experiences, and so our body sets up this protective response, right? This inner barrier, like, I don't want to feel that again. I don't want to go through that again. And so it sets up these protective mechanisms for good reason. But often they include in that survival response, they often include then like toxic thought and emotional patterns of doubt and worry and insecurity and jealousy and anger. Why did that happen to me? Um, and so, if those are not updated or released, then they become automatic and they can snowball out of control and really wreak havoc in somebody's life and their physical health. Let me just give you an example. This is another fantastic book that I will reference a lot, and this is Releasing Emotional Patterns with Essential Oils by Dr. Carolyn Mine, I think is how you say it. So let me just read an example. When we're young and crossing the street, we're told to that it's dangerous to cross the street when we're younger. We do that too. We want to protect our children. So yes, we probably set up some negative emotional response patterns in our kids. Let's see if I can find this. Okay. So, that's the wrong place. Okay, so for example, when you were a small child, you were told not to go into the street. When you were older and able to be responsible for yourself, then you were taught that that behavior or response to like the child kind of being afraid of crossing the street because they were told not to, and then it also depends on in the manner that we tell them not to cross the street, right? But they kind of are fearful of it, right? And they've been told not to do it. So when they're older, this needs to be updated to teach them how to do it safely. So you were updated, you were taught to look both ways and to cross the street when it was safe. If you stayed in the initial program and that was never updated to you, but it was just repeatedly, told to you not to cross the street, and maybe like in a real forceful way or fearful way or whatever, then that program is programmed into you. The street is dangerous. Stay out of it. That is an automatic response, and it can, if left, if just left on its own and not updated, it will snowball. You would be afraid to cross the street, and you may never experience the world beyond the block where you lived, right? And then you see, like, you're older and you see all these other people crossing the same street you want to cross, but you can't because that initial program was never updated. And so then from there, that might be really frustrating. And so on top of just the anxiety of being scared about crossing the street, then you have depression about not being able to cross the street and enjoy what you see other people enjoying, or going to experience what's on the other side of the street that other people are experiencing. And so depression might set in, or just anger of, why wasn't I taught that? Or jealousy of wanting to be in somebody else's shoes because they're doing it successfully and they're not scared. So that is kind of the snowball effect there if our emotional patterns are not updated to a healthy realm. Okay. So when these toxic patterns are our default go-to places, not only are we creating like toxic negative patterns, but then we're also putting our physical selves under some serious stress reactions and severely handicapping our body's natural ability to heal. So not only do you have this spiral downward into, depression, anger, worry, doubt, fear, like all those things going on, but then your body is under a stress response, like a continual stress response. Um, and so research shows that 75 to 98% of all mental, physical, and behavioral illnesses come from one's thought life. Oh my gosh, 75 to 98% of mental, physical, behavioral illnesses come from one's thought life, with the association between stress and disease 85%. 85%. So let me show you how that is connected, right? We're connecting dots here. That's the whole point of this class, is to connect dots for you to see a big picture. Okay, let's see. Page, get on the right page? New. So this is Switch on Your Brain. So let me show you just an example. So stress is the key to understanding the association between depression and heart disease. Not catching and stopping those thoughts leads to negative, toxic thoughts being wired into the brain. This can lead to depressive thoughts, which causes the body to go into stage 2 of stress. In response, your immune system produces proteins as a positive inflammatory response to protect the brain and body against stress. Does it automatically, right? If the stress is not controlled, the depression increases and the person moves into stress stage 3. And over time, the inflammation also increases and can lead to the hardening of arteries and cardiovascular disease. All this from not catching those negative, toxic thoughts. And that's just one example. Okay, so that's kind of interesting, that connection there. And it's interesting too because your body sets up those emotional patterns as a survival response, right? Because we don't want to feel that pain. We don't want that to happen again. We don't want to go through that again. And so then our choices to let those patterns continue and those thought processes to continue in a toxic way, then throws the body into a physical protective response to protect the brain and the body. And so it boils down to a choice. So our thoughts are even capable of changing the very shape of your DNA. So this is just a huge wake-up call, and this should be just like a light bulb moment. Use your oils even more than you use them right now. Our DNA hold the very genetic instructions that dictate the anatomy and physiology of our bodies. And you and I, we control 90% of this process with our thinking, with 90% with our thinking, okay? No more blame game going on here. We can do better. So an example of this is given with HIV positive patients, and they had, so HIV patients who had positive thoughts and feelings had 300,000 times more resistance to the disease than those who did not. That's kind of a big deal. so we're no longer going to play a victim or the blame game for this or that of our biology or our circumstances. We can reverse damage done with feelings of love and joy and appreciation and gratitude. And your body will resist depending on the of how ingrained and set the negative toxin patterns are. There will be resistance. It's hard. It will be hard. And so oils are a tool to allow the your cells to decompress and for the body to follow and the mind to follow. And so we'll get more into that in a little bit, but the oils are a super effective tool to allow you to release those, even if your mind doesn't really want you to. So there'll be resistance, but you can do it. Okay, so let's just explore what the steps involved in setting up an emotional pattern. So let's just look at those steps. So the emotional energy, right? We said thoughts are living things, so they have a frequency to them. They're alive. So the emotional energy that gets generated during a traumatic experience or event, and it doesn't have to be traumatic. It can just, there's different levels of trauma. But so just the emotional energy that just gets generated, okay, it enters the body. Okay, the emotions are not bad. Being angry is not bad. I don't want you to avoid being angry, right? They can be very healthy. It's just the manner in which then we respond. So that emotional energy enters the body, and if not released in a healthy way, it gets stored in an organ or gland with the same frequency, the same vibrational energy. So for example, fear is held in the kidneys, and anxiety is held in the spleen, and sadness in the lungs, joy in the heart, anger in the liver. And so they're connected. They're connected there. The memory of the trauma gets stored in our limbic system, in our emotional part, the emotional center part of our brain. The memory gets stored there. And our minds create a belief and attach it to that emotional memory. So you have the memory, and then your mind creates a belief and attaches it to that memory, also storing that in the limbic system. And then the response, this is where you get to choose. Your response to the trauma or to that event gets stored in the cellular memory throughout the body and then becomes automatic. Okay, so that is a little bit of the steps there. Now there are some circumstances where like a response is desired to be made, but can't make the right response or right choice. And so again, this goes back to just different levels of trauma, but I'm just saying for the general population, like you can drive to work nicely. Like you don't have to cave into road rage, right? Like you can have a nice car ride to work. I can make choices as a mom to not cave in to my children's tantrum and come down to their level and join them. So I'm not saying that I don't sometimes, but like I can have a conscious choice. Sometimes it's really difficult, and so this is where the oils come into play, is because I will snatch an oil when I see meltdown happening, and where like words just aren't working, and I'm not quick enough to logic and reason with myself, right? Because emotions, like, we can do split decisions in an emotional state like this. And so grabbing an oil and inhaling it to hit that limbic system then allows me to rise above that situation, and and vibrates in that truth of making a healthy response. So this is like geared toward general emotional stress. So knowing those 4 steps of knowing that the emotion, your thoughts are real, living things, and that emotional energy created enters the body. So your stress enters your body and it gets stored in the same organ or gland with the same vibrational energy or same frequency. And then the memory gets stored in the limbic system. A belief is attached to the memory and also gets stored in the limbic system. And then the response to that event or experience or just incoming facts and information, the response gets stored in your cellular memory. So, what does that mean? That pain or disease in a certain area may strongly be related to unresolved emotions buried alive. Taking our thoughts captive and utilizing your oils with scripture or prayer or worship or meditating on truth, and having your oils with you, choosing not to let negativity snowball, but choosing truth and using your oils at the same time is going to concrete in your cellular memory responses of your love design, of joy and of gratitude and appreciation and love, and all those awesome, wonderful things, right? And then you can automatically feel it. You feel your load is lighter, and creativity can flow, and it just shines right from you. And so your body thanks you. Usually pain is decreased, your immune system is better for it, and on and on and on. So in times where we can't think it in quick enough, we can breathe it in. And so I encourage you to have your oils scattered all over the house, always with you, in your purse, in your bag, so you can quick breathe it in when you feel yourself spiraling down or melting or just purely exhausted, right? That's another emotional state of just being purely exhausted. So, okay, so we made those connections. It's exciting. It's really too good. I had to do this. So thank you for giving me your time and listening to this cool stuff. Okay, so let's just, for those, in case you share this with other people who might not be familiar what essential oils are, let's just hit that for a minute. So essential oils are considered like the lifeblood and the immune system of the plant. So just as our blood is critical for our survival and carrying out the daily activities for life, essential oils function in the same way for the plant kingdom. And yes, I am reading my notes because I will bunny trail all over the place. So I am reading from my notes to kind of keep me focused and keep this under an hour. They help to carry nutrients in and waste out. They act as hormones and enzymes and neurotransmitters. They initiate healing in the plant kingdom and regeneration and growth. So healing, regeneration, growth when there is injury to the plant. And it's the main source of protection against infection and disease. And so they come to us as very well-trained agents for health and for survival. The scent of essential oils in and of themselves, they serve as signals to ensure survival. So essential oils are a life force, the life force of the plant that make them thrive and survive. So when you're looking at various quality and the actions of the oils, depending on how we steward this gift found in nature, and how a plant is then cultivated and harvested and distilled. And so that will largely affect how it will benefit us. And so Young Living is simply just the authority in the entire process. And so just instead of stripping a crap for a nice smell, Young Living is dedicated to like coaxing that life force and those properties out of the plants and capturing their therapeutic use. So that's what essential oils are, what makes Young Living different. And so that way, our oils are totally capable of entering the body with purpose and restoring harmony out of our chaos and strengthening our potential to thrive. Okay. Now is the exciting part of then. So how can essential oils, how can essential oils provide us emotional release? And it's interesting because they work in the same ways, all three ways that emotions get stored. So let's take a look at that. Topically, when we put them on our skin topically, because of the distillation process, the molecular size and the weight of the essential oils are very, very small, allowing them to penetrate the skin very easily, entering the circulatory system and the nervous system. And so due to frequency, again, essential oils are living things. It's the life force of the plant. So it has a frequency, it has that vibration we were talking about. So due to the nature of frequency, oils have an affinity to glands, organs, and body systems with the same vibration, just like your emotions. Awesome, right? Yeah. So they travel to those areas that they have an affinity for, just like your emotions entering the body. So oils go to work awakening cells and harmonizing that chaos. Sweet, right? Because oils are always for harmony, always for homeostasis, always to function so the plant is thriving, okay? So they're always for good, for the good of the organism. So it's kind of like the conductor of an orchestra. We can put oils on anywhere on the body and they can go in and they can do their thing, and they do their thing very well. Now, with emotional release, it is recommended to get really specific and to get super intentional and rub the oils topically over the place where we harbor negative emotions. So like, for example, it's oils will go in and do their thing. And so if you're just putting oils on like your wrists or behind your ears or on your neck or on your feet, like that is awesome. If you know you have some emotional work to do and you have negative patterns that you really want to work on, anger, let's just use anger. Why am I gravitating to that? I don't know. Then it is recommended to get really specific. Anger is stored in the liver, and so to get oils that are specific for the liver and helpful in releasing anger for the cells, and putting and applying it directly on the liver or on the VitaFlex, the liver VitaFlex point on your hands or on your feet. So I find the hands and the ears really easy to use, especially during the day. So let's say like the road rage, like you have road rage, you want to work on that. So then like grab your oil and put it on your liver for when you're experiencing road rage, which is fantastic because you can put it on your hands and then inhale it as well, and see if that brings it down a couple of notches. So getting really specific with emotional release by applying the oil to the place where you harbor the negative emotions. And so that can be on the organ or the gland itself, or that can be on an acupuncture point. Okay, so that's one pathway. Topically. Aromatically, this is inhaling an essential oil. Aromatically, this pathway works directly on the limbic system. So when you breathe in an essential oil, the molecules are picked up by the neurons that hang down from the olfactory bulb right in between the eyes, the top of the sinus cavity. So like in milliseconds, they are carried directly to the limbic lobe, and that's what's known as our emotional brain. So besides being the seat of emotions, which that's where all the initiating a response and carrying it out and storing the memory, all of that happens. So besides being the seat of emotions, the limbic system also plays a vital role in our learning, motor development, our hunger and thirst cues, our sleep rhythms, our sexual behavior, hormone balance, pain perception, blood pressure, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is an important part of our brain. And because our sense of smell is directly tied to this part of the brain, aromas have a powerful influence to interrupt and decrease the stress response at the most basic level. Remember that stress response that I read from Switch on Your Brain? Okay, that ultimately leading to cardiovascular disease from not catching those thoughts right away. And that response originates in the limbic lobe, which your sense of smell is only like one synapse away from the amygdala gland. So the amygdala gland is responsible for telling the body where to store and release trauma. Okay, it's the alarm gland, it's the fight or flight. So its job is to determine, like in a split second, whether you are in danger or not. So it's the alarm gland, it initiates the response. And so there's a cascade of response that happens in your body, like what happens when you smell smoke, right? You have that trigger that happens and your heart rate increases, and like you're immediately looking of where it's coming from and taking the steps in your mind of how to, if the house was on fire, how to get everybody out and all that kind of stuff. Well, that starts with the amygdala did all that. Recent studies show that the amygdala does not respond to sound, sight, or touch, but only releases emotional trauma through the sense of smell. So you have the aromatic influence of oils, the topical influence, you have the aromatic influence, and if you remember, then the emotions go into the body, which you have the topical effect of the oils, and then the memory and the belief that you attach the memory is stored in the limbic system, which you can access with your oils through smell. And then the last stage of how emotional patterns get set up in the body, then the response is stored in the cellular DNA. Well, oils interact on a cellular level. Oils that are high in sesquiterpenes like frankincense and sandalwood, cedarwood, patchouli increase the oxygen in our limbic system, which in turn unlocks cellular DNA and allows emotional baggage to literally be released from cellular memory. Isn't that awesome? So 3 really cool connections of how oils can help you be emotionally strong and have emotional stamina. Like, how awesome. Okay, I get real excited about that kind of stuff. So it's like automatic decompression for your cells and like a sigh of relief from such a burdensome load. Do you need a sigh of relief or just like decompression? Please, whoever is sharing this video with you, or if you're watching this in the Oilistic Life, please use your oils on a daily basis. Your cells are crying out. Your body is crying out for you to use your oils daily, not just when the crap hits the fan. Like, this is an everyday thing. Okay, so the actual constituents found in therapeutic grade, going back there again, therapeutic grade essential oils work to dislodge faulty programming implemented by our very own thought life, allows the body to clear the junk before our minds are even capable of processing the trauma. So it's allowing your cells to release it, allowing your body to clear it, and it's going to make it so much easier for your mind to let go of those inner barriers in your life. That inner voice that tells you you're not good enough, or you can't do it, or that make you jealous, or wish you had someone else's life, and like all those things. I might start crying. I don't know. It's good stuff. So it allows the body to clear that junk, and so your minds can be renewed and transformed. So this is so helpful. Like, not only, I mean, obviously I'm just teaching this class and like so moved by this information, but like for our kids. And so, and it has a generational impact. And so for our kids who are just totally disconnected and like glued on their flipping devices, do you know how that drives me nuts? But they're just so disconnected emotionally and spiritually. And so putting oils on your kids and on their feet and on their spines, like, we're not just a bunch of weirdos doing that. Like, you're clearing a cellular memory that can hinder them. You're clearing that so they can thrive and be who they were made to be, and not listening to, incoming messages. Anyway, I can go on and on about that with our kids, but it's just a very powerful tool. All right. So let's just talk about some basic oils to use. And we all know that the oils in the starter kit are the most basic oils that people use time and time again in Young Living. So they're awesome oils. I'm going to start there because I do think that it's a great place to start with those basic oils that you have a good understanding of already. And if you don't, then these oils are in our starter kit, which you can purchase from whoever shared this with you. It comes with a diffuser and 11 of the most basic foundational oils that I think everyone should have a comfort level with before they move on to other oils. So just have a good general understanding of the physical properties, which you will hear a lot of, but then also the emotional, which we don't really hit on quite as much. And so I'm going to take a few of those and talk a little bit about, not all of them, but just a few of them, so you can kind of see how to use them. So let's talk about lemon first. Lemon is a great oil. It promotes clarity of thought and purpose. It supports the release from feeling left behind, entitlement, a fear of detachment, feelings of emptiness, frustration, road rage people, life being unreliable, sadness, or just being stuck. And so lemon is a quick favorite of children, and we are almost to the back to school season, and so there might be a fear of detachment there for some kids, or transitioning to a new grade or a new school or whatnot. And so lemon can be a great oil to use in that season of life for them and for you as the parent. It's hard to watch your kids go through that. It's just so good and refreshing. So that acupuncture alarm point is found at the top of the spinal cord right here. So a great way to use lemon, let's just keep with the kid example for a minute, whether back to school and having a hard time transitioning, or going to school for the first time, or a new place or whatnot. When those feelings surface and you see that like fear of detachment or this transition I'm not too sure about, then I recognize it with them. Don't try to shove it down and say, oh, just, life's hard and, life's hard, grow up, suck it up. We want to recognize when those emotions surface and then smile at your child. Okay, smile. Apply the lemon to the spinal cord. So, just recognizing it, like, what, I know, buddy, like, I know, what you're feeling, but you're going to get there and you're amazing. And you're going to have so much fun, and just speak truth in life and affirmation into the child and that situation where they're feeling that like tense emotion. Okay. And then partner it with the lemon. So recognize it, smile, put the lemon on the spinal cord, the top of the spinal cord, and up and down. Speak confidence and ability over them, and have them inhale the oil and repeat it. Have them repeat that affirmation, truth, whatever. We use a lot of scripture in our home. Have them repeat it back to you and inhale the oils back and forth a few times, okay? Okay, so you're putting it on, you're speaking truth, they're inhaling it and speaking it back to you, and that concretes it into their cellular memory and who they are. Isn't that cool? It's like we use our oils as like the body, like a suit of armor, right? Suit of armor. And so in times where we just feel really weak or we struggle, like your child will be able just to inhale the lemon and be transported back to that moment of seeing your smile, of hearing truth, of repeating it back to you, and knowing it in and of themselves that they do not have a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power. Isn't that awesome? Okay, crying again because this is so cool. Okay. This is also a great oil for frustration, which is on the alarm point for that is the common bile duct. And so that can be found on acupuncture points on your hands. So that's just one example of how to use lemon. Lavender is calming and relaxing and physically and emotionally balancing. It's documented to reduce mental stress and increase alertness. Lavender helps to release the emotional patterns of abandonment, criticism, and the fear of how a situation may unfold. So after the lemon, you might want to put on the lavender. This is abandonment is the small intestinal alarm point, and again you can find that on a VitaFlex chart. And so along with this video, I will also put up the VitaFlex charts, and so you can kind of see that along with a few other graphics that you can share along with this video. But again, that's just if you're wanting to get really super intentional. I think good places to put oils anyway. If you just want overall emotional support, are on your wrists. You have many emotional points on your ears, and your DNA is actually your ear lobes. And so doing a quick pinch, put oils on your fingers and quick pinch down the ears then is a great way. Just for overall emotional health is putting on your oil of choice on your ears and tugging a little bit. Anywhere along the brain stem is fantastic. At the crown of the head, your amygdala is right through here. So if you're just wanting to massage the forehead with some oils, and of course inhaling them to hit the limbic system, are all really good places. All in all, everyday use, I hit the hands, I hit the ears, I will hit the brainstem. It's not uncommon for me to go around my children at breakfast and drop, we have a blend called Gratitude, and I will literally drop gratitude onto their heads, like anointing them, and we go around and just say a few things that we're thankful for to kick off our day. So it's not uncommon for me to do that. And the diffuser is fantastic, and just taking a few moments and inhaling the essential oil from the palm of your hand. So if you want to get really specific, then you can look at those acupuncture points on the VitaFlex charts. Okay, peppermint is very purifying and stimulating to the conscious mind. It aids in the release of failure, restriction, and rigidity. So for